Let's talk Manchester United then. Now, Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, Roy Keane, bloke I saw in the corner shop the other day, all saying United need a new keeper. Are they going to get one?
Easier said than done, Mike. It's going to be difficult to get a deal done to bring a new goalkeeper in at Manchester United with we're now officially less than 2 weeks left in this transfer window, aren't we?
Is the timing the issue?
It's partly that, but also, does Ruben Amorim want a new goalkeeper? So you've got a situation here. There was talk earlier in this transfer window when there were doubts, major doubts over Andre Onana's future. He then got injured during pre-season. So effectively ruled him out of a move because he was injured. So he was going to be out until the start of the season, people thought. So he wasn't going to get much of a pre-season in. And publicly at least, Ruben Amorim has said that he is backing the 3 goalkeepers that he's got. Andre Onana, Altay Bayindir and Tom Heaton. Now, there was lots of conjecture yesterday when the team was announced for Manchester United's game against Arsenal and the squad was announced. Andre Onana nowhere to be seen. They interviewed Ruben Amorim before the game. Why isn't he there? Well, is he injured? Is he not fit? No, he's fit. So everyone assumed that Andre Onana had been dropped. He played that down later simply by saying, look, he's hardly had any training time, he's hardly had any game time, and that's why he chose Altay Bayindir ahead of him yesterday. Now, if an offer in these last 2 weeks was to come in for Onana that Manchester United maybe couldn't refuse, then there's the possibility that they would try and see if there's a keeper available that they can bring in. But at the moment, it would be very, very difficult because there's been no offers for Andre Onana and there's no sign at this stage that Andre Onana wants to leave Manchester United anyway.
There's quite a good goalkeeper hanging around, available. Donnarumma, why don't they just buy him?
Good question. I mean, arguably he's the best goalkeeper in the world at the moment. PSG have made it clear that they are going to sell him in the next 2 weeks. Having said that, even though he's only got a year left on his contract, PSG is still looking for around 40 to 50 million euros. So that is what, around 40 million pounds. Now, he's also on big wages. The information we have is that Manchester United, Manchester City have not been in contact with his representatives. Now, potentially that could change, as Dharmesh said. If United were to sell Onana, then potentially maybe they'd pick up the phone and contact Donnarumma's representatives. But even then, it'd be very, very complicated because there's the big transfer fee and there's his big wages as well. And you'd have to convince him, I think in United's case, to move to Manchester United because he wouldn't have any European football. And he's going from the Champions League champions. That wouldn't be a case at City. But of course, City would also need to sell somebody like Ederson, but they've just signed a very, very good goalkeeper as well. So I hear what people are saying about Donnarumma. He's available. Why doesn't somebody go out and sign him? It's not quite as simple as that.
I'm going to use the B word, brinkmanship. It was less than 2 weeks to go. I think PSG and Gianluigi Donnarumma are probably looking at each other and just having a staring contest. Who's going to blink first here? Simply because PSG, on one side of it, know that Gianluigi Donnarumma needs to play because there's a World Cup next summer. Whereas Gianluigi Donnarumma is thinking, I'm not going to rush anywhere until the project is right. And PSG, he knows PSG want to sell him. So the later this goes in the transfer window, could there be a situation where you get into the final few days and there's a situation where PSG think, we're not going to get the big transfer fee that we wanted. He's only got a year left on his contract. But if we even loan him for this season or even let him go for free in this transfer window, we actually end up getting rid of the wages as well, because you're looking at 15 to 17 million pounds of a saving that they'll make, rather than the other bit of brinkmanship where they don't do a deal for him. He'll be the number 2 goalkeeper. He won't play, and yet he'll be paid this huge wage.
Where's your gut? What do you think will happen?
I think he'll go. I think a few things still have to happen, though. Particularly, we keep hearing about Manchester City, and there's this interest from Galatasaray in Ederson. Now, if that one was to come to fruition, there is a chance that Manchester City might approach PSG and Gianluigi Donnarumma's representatives. But as Carve said there hasn't been any approach to his representatives at this stage. That's because the two clubs that we keep talking about, the two Manchester clubs, have still got a full complement of goalkeepers in their department. So until that changes, Donnarumma is not going to go to either of those clubs. But the closer we get to the end of the window, because over the weekend, I think a lot of eyes were on the Manchester City squad as well. And Ederson had a stomach bug. That's why he missed that game. Then you've also got to think about what James Trafford must be thinking. He starts the game, he thinks he's the number one, and then if they suddenly go for Gianluigi Donnarumma, where does that leave him?
Exactly. All right.